Alright, so today we are going to be installing an exhaust system on a dirt bike. These specific models are the LEXX MXe exhaust and the 2011 YZ250f bike. Alright, so first off you're going to want to take off your rear fenders or your number plates. So start with this one. Crack it loose, then you got another one down here. And then pull them off. Alright, slide the fender out. And then to make sure you don't lose the bolts, just throw them back in the fender in the way you took them off. Okay, so now what you're going to want to do is take a 10mm socket, deep socket so you get clearance, and pull off the can. You're going to work your way from the back to the front. Leave it in just a little bit and then go down to the mid pipe. Crack that loose. Pull that out. Make sure not to lose it. Then you can pull the bolt holding your can. And now it's loose. So now what you're going to want to do is move away your kicker and then remove the bolt that holds this collar from your mid pipe to your header. Once you've loosened that bolt, you're going to grab your can and your mid pipe, slowly twist and pull. Slide that collar back out of the way. And eventually it should wiggle free. Alright, so now what you're going to want to do is grab this little collar that they supply you with and run it over your new exhaust can. That's specifically for this exhaust. Most exhausts like FMF, Pro Circuit, Yoshimura, they have this bracket welded onto the pipe. So for this, you put this little spacer in between the bracket and then you throw the bolt in. And that'll show you how tight you should really have it. Right now, this is just to have it mounted and test fit, ready to go. So what would happen is you go like that, and then you screw this in to the mounting bracket on your bike. Alright, so now that you have a bunch of your fenders off and your can off, what you're going to want to do is figure out whether or not your bike needs a collar. The way you test that is you take your mid pipe and try and fit it over your header. Now for this one, it fits really loose. You can see it wiggling around. These collars are supposed to fit over snugly so you can have a good seal. So each of these three collars fit in the mid pipe that you're supplied with, but the ends are different on this side so that they fit on your header. So my specific size is this one. That is the 38.1mm collar. So now what you're going to want to do is grab some contact cleaner, just brake cleaner, starter fluid, or not starter fluid, brake cleaner, carb cleaner, that kind of stuff. Spray it on a rag, not it yourself. Get it nice and wet. Wipe down where the junction is going to be. And then wipe down the collar you got. Give those a chance to dry, and when they're done, we're going to hit them with some high temp silicone. So the next step is to go ahead and grab some gasket maker or high temp silicone, and you're going to want to put a little dab on your finger and wipe that around on the inside of the collar if you're using a collar. If not, you just want to wipe it around on the header pipe where it meets the mid pipe. Just get an even coating. Spray a bit more. And then you're going to want to do the same thing for the outside, because what this does, this goes over the head pipe and then inside the mid pipe. So you just want a good seal so you don't get any leaks, any backfiring, that kind of stuff. So now once you have that done, you're going to want to grab your head pipe, or your mid pipe, sorry, and your collar. Try and throw the collar on without getting this red gasket maker all over the place. And then just slide it on. You usually want to put the collar on first because as you put the mid pipe on, it's going to tighten up that collar. Make sure it seats right and just twist it in. You're going to have a little bit of extra just like that. And the way you know it's on far enough is when the bolt on your mid pipe lines up with the mounting bracket on your subframe. So just continue to twist and push, add gradual pressure, and line up that hole. So then, to keep everything clean and spiffy, just grab a little piece of shop towel or paper towel, whatever you got around you, and wipe off that silicone gasket maker. Alright, so after you have installed your mid pipe, you're going to want to repeat the steps as you work your way back to the can. So just get a bit of contact cleaner on another rag. Make sure you have a good aim, unlike me. Give the mid pipe a little wipe down around where it's going to seal. You can put a little bit on the inside too. Then do the same thing. Spray it on that rag. And get the inside of your can. Just so that high temp silicone will stick and bond. Then let that sit and dry. So your next step is to get some more of that gasket maker. Put a little dab on your finger and rub it around that junction point on the mid pipe. And you're just going to want to keep spreading that around evenly. This stuff will help hold the can and the mid pipe together and seal it so that you don't have any backfiring issues or exhaust fume leaking. Just make sure to get a nice even coat all the way around. So next what you're going to do is grab the collar, make sure to throw it around your can, and then grab the mounting bolts for it. Now if you put a thick enough coat and an even enough coat of that high temp silicone onto your mid pipe, you won't have to bother putting any in your can. So you're just going to slide this on evenly, try and twist it on, keep as much of that silicone in the junction and out of here as possible. And then you're going to make sure that these springs line up. And then make sure to lift everything. You're going to throw the bolt, if you can get your hand on it, through here. And throw the spacer in. And pinch it. And try and thread that through. Just so that it holds position. It'll take a little bit of working. You can slide this collar down. It also helps if you got another hand. Just grab the wrench, thread it on. Thread it on. So once you've fit the collar around the can and then this little spacer in between your bolt, the collar brackets, and then the mounting bracket, you're going to want to come back down to the mid pipe and throw in the bolt that holds your mid pipe to the subframe. We threw this bolt in off camera just because it took a little bit of movement, but what you're going to want to do is just wiggle this until the hole lines up and then tighten this back down. So now, first of all, when you do all that, you just want to thread the bolts lightly just so everything fits. And then you're going to go and tighten everything down. Just gradually tighten everything down. Not all the way, just that far. And do the same thing for the bolts up here, the bolt up here. Sure. So tighten until you feel resistance, which is there. And then go back down to your mid pipe. Give it a couple more turns. And do the same up here. Just try and mount this evenly. Give it just a bit of torque. Just hold it on tight. And then finally do the same for your mid pipe. So your next step is to take the exhaust springs and mount them onto the exhaust where the can meets the mid pipe. These are just added security to hold them on. So you're going to hook one around this bracket and try and stretch this hook onto this bracket. Now they make special tools for this. It's called a spring puller. It's just kind of like a T-handle with a little hook that grabs around here. It's got more room for you to grab so you can pull it on. That's for the rich and the fancy, both of which we are not. So we're just going to use a pair of pliers to try and manhandle this thing onto it. Now this probably is not a good idea to do while your bike is on a stand, so we might have to take it off the stand. Or you'll get lucky and it'll fit. So we got one on, and the plan is to get the other. But this one's got a little bit farther of a distance, so... So, once you've finished putting these springs on, you're going to want to move over to the earlier junction that you did with the head pipe and the mid pipe. You're going to take that collar that you removed earlier, and now you're going to have to loosen it up just a bit more, just so it fits over this new mid pipe, this oversized mid pipe. So loosen it up just a bit. So it's wide enough. Then slide it over top, just like so. Make sure your wrench is tightening, and go ahead. Keep the bracket so that the bolt's easily accessible, and just finish off tightening it down. Another thing to look out for is this little intersection, or this little junction point. There's the collar that you put in earlier has a little lip that sticks out, and that's perfect placement for where your collar can mount up against. So you can see how this collar, it seats right against this clamp. And again, wipe down that silicone if you didn't do a good enough job in the first place. Make sure you wipe it all off from where your mid pipe meets the can. And then your next and final step is to go ahead and replace that side number plate panel. So pop your screws out. Make sure not to lose those. Go ahead and slide it in. This specific bike has little tabs, so just make sure to line them up. Everything seats nice. Then toss in this bolt. It's a little hard to get access to, so you might have to use a deep socket just as a wrench. So just finger tighten that just so it holds place. Do the same for the bolt that's up above. This bolt also threads through to the mounting bracket of your seat, so you might have to push that down. So you tighten that. Finger tighten this. And finish it off with the wrench. Just lock it down real light because it's just a fender. You don't want to crack it from over tightening it. And there you go. So now, what you got your exhaust installed. What you want to do ideally is let it sit for about 12 to 24 hours and do that so that the high temp silicone gets a chance to seal and dry up so that those junctions are all sealed. And then after that you should be riding.